I was infatuated with the younger sister of one of my friends. She was self-centered, but she just turned my head around. I went to her mom's house one night to pick up her brother and found out he was busy doing something else. While standing in the living room talking to their mom, my friend's sister came into the room, said, "Hi," and asked me what I was doing. My little heart skipped. "Nothing now," I said. She said the James Montgomery Band was playing at a favorite haunt of ours and that she'd like to go. She then asked if we could go together. I agreed and turned towards her mom. Now, this sister was 23, maybe 24, so she wasn't a kid. The mom told us to have fun and that I had to have her home before 1. I agreed, and my friend's sister and I left. As soon as we got in my car, she told me, "Thanks. I didn't know how to get out of there." She's kept me home the last few days because I got her upset. Nancy, my friend, will meet us at the bar and I'll hang out with her. So I got the hint that I've just been used for an excuse to get her out of the house, and this wasn't a date. My heart a bit crushed, I played the nice guy. We went to the bar and enjoyed a couple of beers together with her friend. Then a bunch of black leather-bound guys walked up, obviously keeping some pre-agreed meeting with the two girls. The guys looked like street-tough junkies from a movie casting call. The guys and girls obviously didn't want me around, and we drifted apart quickly. I was working the midnight to 8 shift in Boston that night, and so I kept somewhat sober. Around 11, I started to make my way out. I went up to the sister and asked if she wanted a ride home. She looked at me as if I was an idiot and said she wasn't leaving. I reminded her of what her mother said and that I had to get to work, a fact she knew already. She blew me off and said she'd get a ride later from one of the guys and be at home by 1. "Okay," I said, not wanting to play enforcer on an adult. I left, telling myself to never be involved with her again. I got to work and my boss had called in sick. He called and gave us guys on the crew a list of things to do. When we were done, we were told to go home. We were done in just over an hour. I got to my folks' house at 2 a.m. to crash. As I walked in the door, the phone rang and my dad answered. He yelled to me to get the phone. It was my friend's mom. "Where's my daughter?" she yelled. I apologized to my dad, told him to go back to sleep, and hopped in my car, tearing for the bar. I was mad, just mad. I wasn't worried, just mad, and I was embarrassed that her mom was disappointed in me. I got to the bar, and luckily the bartender was still closing up. I sneaked in the back door and asked him if he recalled the sister, as I figured he knew her. He said that yes, he knew her and her friends. They were off to one of the guys' apartments and had left about 10 minutes before I arrived. I told him to give me the address and that I was going there to get the girls. He said, "Man, you don't want to be going over there. These guys are hard players. They don't know you, and they won't be happy if you come barging in. You'll get hurt, or worse." I shrugged and said, "We'll deal with it." I was so mad nothing was stopping me. I got the address and spun out of there. I sped over to the apartment complex and walked up to the apartment door. I was pissed. I knocked, sounding as official as I could with a dark, stern voice, and said, "Open up, it's Egan, I'm here for the two girls," and gave their names, saying, "Come out, let's go." I stood 6 inches from the front of the door, so the peephole was pointing right at my face. There was a single click, and the door quickly swung half open. A guy with a .38 pointed the gun hard against my forehead. "What the fuck you want?" he asked. "Shut up," I said. "I just want the two girls. They're coming with me." At this, I pushed my head hard against the gun as I tilted it to look around the corner of the open door. The guy was frozen for a second, unsure. I looked at him like he had to be the dumbest guy in the doorway. I asked, "What you gonna do? Blow my head off?" "Real smart." He realized that the situation did look a bit ridiculous, but he wanted to be some sort of outlaw cowboy when he grew up, so he glared at me like he was going to shoot just on principle, I guess. He turned to the side and said, "You guys know this guy? Is he for real?" I heard a small, defeated woman's voice inside say, Yeah, he's for real. That's Egan." The pistol pointer said, "He says you gotta go with him." "Really?" Two girls' voices answered together, "Yeah, we better go." And sure enough, the two girls came out quickly and slid past the gunman, dragging their coats behind them, not looking at me. They scurried along the hallway to get to the front door, not saying a word. The gunman and I locked eyes. He said, "Next time you won't be that lucky." I started to turn to walk away, yet I continued to look him dead straight, and with the Reaper in my eyes said, "Neither will you." He dropped his gun and closed the door. I heard triple locks snap. I had no idea what I meant, but it sounded good. Wordlessly, I drove. I dropped off the friend at her home and drove to the sister's home. The lights were on. I walked the sister to the door and knocked. Her mom opened the door and was glaring mad. She said to me, "You said you'd have her home by 1, and you didn't even stay with her. When you take someone out, you stay with them." I said, "Yes, you're right. I'll never do that again, and I won't take your daughter out again." I guided the sister in. As she looked up at me with tears, she said simply, "Really?" The sister became a junkie and still is, as far as I know. This was 30 years ago. I spoke to her maybe once or twice after that. The last time was in 2001, when I came back to that part of the country on business and looked her up, just to satisfy my curiosity. The pistol-toting guy and his roommates got shot up by the cops in a drug raid about a month after I knocked on their door. The sister's brother told me he felt I had saved her because she never went back there after that night. A few years ago, when I was in my late teens, I was walking home from a party. I had been drinking, as one does at parties. A bit too much, but not to the point of fall down drunk. It was dark and I didn't know the area well. My phone had died and I was totally lost. As I was walking, I saw headlights go past, then stop. The van reversed and this guy pulled over. He asked if I was okay, and when I told him I was a bit lost and my phone was dead, he said I could use his, but only if I got in so I wouldn't steal it. It sounded weird, but I needed to call my parents because I was late for curfew. Now, most of us have been taught not to get into a car with strangers, but against my better judgment and partly because of my alcohol-fueled brain, I got in. As soon as I closed the door, he locked it and drove off fast. Panic hit me like a hammer. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped. Fear swirled in my gut like a storm. I didn't know where he was taking me or what he wanted. All I could do was pray for a miracle. Somehow, and to this day I can't say how, but I managed to unlock the door when he slowed down. I didn't think, I just jumped out as he was trying to grab my arm and ran as fast as I could. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. I saw a house up ahead and dashed towards it, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I banged on the door, begging for help. But when the owner answered, they didn't believe me. They thought I was just some crazy drunk person. I was shaking all over, my mind racing with fear. What if he came back for me? What if I never made it home? I managed to bang on another door, and this time the owner let me in and I called my parents. The memory haunted me like a ghost. Then one day, a young woman disappeared from her job at the gas station. The police found footage from the security cameras, and there it was, the same van that had taken me all those years ago. The young woman kidnapped from the gas station was never found, and neither was the man that kidnapped her. That man hadn't just wanted to scare me, he had wanted to hurt me. And now, another innocent soul had fallen victim to his evil. You are Brian's bitch, aren't you? These words will always haunt me with pure fear and terror. I've gotten into lots of very sticky situations and been near death multiple times, but this was definitely one of the worst. Not only did I endanger my life, but I put at risk the lives of two of my close friends. It was December, and a group of classmates wanted to have a bonfire before winter break. They reserved a fire pit at a beach about 2 hours away, in an area where Grand Cliffs separated the local town from the beach. It was a lukewarm Saturday afternoon in the golden California sun, and we were just chilling and having a good time. Around 5 p.m., my friends Susie and Karen were feeling pretty hungry, so we went to the town to eat. We happily left the group with our items and went in just our bikinis, careless, I know. We lost track of time and returned when the sun was already below the horizon. Expecting to find our friends, we were completely surprised to find that everyone was gone, and only one girl was hurriedly packing up the few items that were left. As she ran away, she yelled at us to please leave, that the bonfire had been overtaken by some homeless men, and that they had made the group feel very uncomfortable. They ended the party early. Unfortunately, the group had left our belongings right by the bonfire, so I cautiously approached the homeless men to grab our items. I was actually quite surprised that these were not homeless men, but teens. Some background information. During this time, I volunteered in a nonprofit organization that helped homeless teens from ages 12 to 21. I became an outreach counselor. After a couple of months of doing this, I got pretty confident in helping these teens. I was very good at it. I could tell these kids by the bonfire really needed help. I chuckled at my group of friends, leaving because they felt intimidated by these kids. I told Susie and Karen that I'd be super quick, that I just wanted to give them my card and we'd leave in no time. I walked up to them, introduced myself as an outreach counselor, and told them about how the organization could help them out. I wanted to help them so badly that I completely ignored Susie and Karen, who were pleading for us to leave. I felt it was the perfect time to give them my card. But when I went to look for my bag in the sand, only then did it dawn on me how pitch black it had become. The only light was from the bonfire. I couldn't see anything for miles all around us. I suddenly felt vulnerable as the frigid ocean breeze brushed against my body. Maybe this was not the time nor place to be doing this after all. All three of us were just 17 years old. How long had we really been here? I felt very uneasy and decided it was time to leave. I stuffed our purses into a bag and took a peek at my phone. It was 9:43 p.m. and I had no signal. My confidence left me as I finally recognized my stupid naivety. It was time to get the heck out. Just as I was about to hand the teenagers my card and wrap things up, I heard those four haunting words, "You are Brian's bitch." Right before me stood a man, over 6 feet tall, spitting in my face. I looked around and we were completely surrounded by a dozen men. All looked in their 20s, ragged and dirty. They stood with so much dominance, their anger intensified by the firelight dancing in their eyes. My friends and I were taken completely by surprise. The two kids I had been talking to quickly jumped in front of me and pleaded with the guy. "Mark, she is a counselor. She can help us get food and shelter. We all need food. She is not Brian's girlfriend. Please don't harm them. Let them help us." But this guy Mark was not having any of it. He pushed these scrawny kids aside with ease. He got back in my face, only an inch away, and the group of men closed in around us. His pupils were huge, his veins pulsing, and he bellowed at me, "This slut is no counselor. She is Brian's bitch. After what that fucking asshole did to us, you dare show your face in our turf? This is our land. You filthy bitch. I never got my hands on Brian, but I'm going to make you pay." At this point, Karen started sobbing. Through a state of panic, I found the courage to speak. I yelled back that I'm definitely not Brian's girlfriend, that we are not even from this area, and that we just want to leave. He violently pushed me back against Susie, who was white as a ghost. We screamed. Would anyone even hear us? He looked me up and down and said, "Gentlemen, get them." They all howled, whistled, and were ready to pounce in. At this point, I knew we were screwed. On one side of us, the Pacific Ocean was raging. On the other side, the cliffs rose up menacingly, as if we were in the pits of hell. The stairs leading up the cliffs and back into town were more than a mile away. In a split second, my body's fight or flight response took over the extreme shock of the situation. I grabbed the girls by the hands and shrieked as loud as I could, "Run!" With all my force and might, I used my head and shoulder to slam into and break through the circle of men around us. I never let go of my friends. I'm not sure if somehow my mind had already pinpointed the weakest chain in the link, the smallest man in the group, or if it was just sheer luck. His arms were not strong enough to withstand my impact. This time they were the ones caught off guard. I propelled my friends forward until they were finally out of shock and also started running as fast as they could. We ran into the darkness towards the stairs, as if the devil himself was chasing us. I don't think I've ever run as fast as I did that night. The men were on our heels, shouting obscenities like a pack of wolves chasing easy prey. Some were laughing as if they knew there was no hope for us. Deep down I felt it too, but I had to do what it took to survive. We only had a miniature head start from our element of surprise. Mark, though, was right behind us. I could hear him breathing down my neck, my racing heartbeat echoing his laughter. They were catching up to us, no doubt about it. Fear crippled me as I knew it was just a matter of seconds until the inevitable. Then we saw 3 large figures running towards us wearing white shirts. I couldn't tell if they were friend or foe, but we had no choice. All we could do was run and scream. The panic was so bad, we couldn't make coherent words, just mumbled shrieks. The 3 large men also started yelling. When they were right in front of us, we could finally make out their words. Police. We ran right between them, and then we just kept running. We just ran and ran, up the stairs into the parking lot, and straight into my friend's van. It was a fucking miracle. We were covered in sweat, sand, and tears. Our feet were bruised and throbbing with pain. All of us were shaking violently as we hugged each other tightly and sobbed. To this day, I have never been able to find out why the police showed up that night. Some friends told us that one of the girls that organized the bonfire was so angry at those homeless guys for ruining it that when she got back home, she called the police on them. The other more plausible case was that the police were conducting a raid on a drug gang that frequented the beach. Either way, they saved our lives from a gruesome fate, and I will always be grateful for that. I apologize to Susie and Karen for putting us in such a horrendous situation. They told me they were in such a state of shock when it all happened that they simply couldn't react. It was like their bodies completely shut down. The truth is, until you are in an extreme situation of survival, you can never really know how your body and mind will respond. That being said, I am no longer that naive little girl, and I've learned to be hyper-aware of my surroundings at all times. I was unbelievably lucky, and I never ever want to allow myself into a situation like that again.